Alright guys, today I'll be doing singers or musicians that passed away before the age of 60. But please do note, I am excluding some singers or musicians such as Charlie Watts from the Rolling Stones, B.J. Thomas, Les McCowan, and the other singers that passed away. Because of this, they just reached over the age of 60, and apparently what I'm supposed to do is I'm supposed to do people who died at just the age of before the age of 60, you know, like 120 singers, but it will be too long. So let's just like keep it to 10, alright guys. This one will actually include like from the 60s till the 90s. No 2000s to 2010 singers will be included. But anyways, let's start. But it's not in alphabetical order, it is non-chronological order, okay? Alright guys, let's start the video anyways. So first up we have Ronnie Van Zant. As you all may know about Ronnie Van Zant, he's actually the lead vocalist and the founding member of Scala. So eventually, on October 20th, 1977, just 10 days before Halloween, Ronnie and his other bandmates, Steve and Cassie Gaines, went on the plane. But unfortunately for that, Ronnie died at just 29 years old from a plane crash. So the Leonardo Scala plane crash was actually a Carr CV-240 passenger that ran out of fuel and crashed into the tree. So the rock band, which was Leonardo Scala, was actually the company which was the one that ended the flight from Greenville, South Carolina to the Baton Rouge. Unfortunately for that, what I was going to say is that 29-year-old Ronnie Van Zant, along with Cassie Gaines and her younger brother Steve, died. So eventually, what I was going to say is that it is a tragedy for people to die at a young age. But anyways guys, I don't want to get into too much conclusion, okay? Now, for number 9 is Keith Moon. Or should I say, Moon the Loon. Even though I just did number 10, which was Ronnie Van Zant, please do note that I'm just doing 10 singers, you know. I was doing like 10 musicians and 10 singers that died before the age of 60. But anyways guys, let's not jump into too much of conclusions. But anyways, number 9, Keith Moon. Also known as Moon the Loon, Keith John Moon was actually an English drummer. He was known for his self-destructive behavior and self-violent behavior against his addiction towards alcohol and drugs. On the evening of 7th of September 1978, Keith Moon was found dead in a London flat where Mama Cass from Mamas and the Papas died of a heart attack 4 years earlier. He was found dead by the former Swedish model Annette Walter Lax. The paramedics tried to revive the drummer, but somehow it failed. Keith Moon was pronounced dead on the scene at around 5:50 p.m. from a drug overdose at just 32 years old. Now what I was going to say is that it's really, really sad to see someone just dying at a young age. Like, why? Why would they just like take drugs, you know? I just have to like say this. This is actually like kind of sad when Keith Moon just took his life to have 32 clomazine tablets. It is actually hemibarin. Hemibarin is the type of drug. The drug can only be administered towards hospitals. And if the drug is abused, then the drug is abused, you know? Anyways guys, let's not jump into conclusions already. But number 8 is Bon Scott, AC/DC. Bon Scott was actually the singer for AC/DC. But after Valentine's Day, on the 19th of February, Bon Scott was found dead at just 33 years old from an acute alcohol poisoning. Now this was the worst thing that can really happen to the lead singer Bon Scott. So eventually, before he died, Bon Scott did plan a song which was supposed to be the song in before Valentine's Day, you know, like after Valentine's Day. Now what I was gonna say is that on the 15th of February 1980, just after Valentine's Day, both brothers Malcolm and Angus Young were actually working on two songs that would be recorded Back in Black album. Unfortunately for that, it had to feature the main lead singer Brian Johnson just after Bon Scott's death. So eventually what I was going to say is Bon Scott did drink a lot of this alcohol, but on the 19th of February, Scott passed out and died at just 33 years old. So eventually, what I was going to say is that Scott was actually found dead, you know, like that. He was actually leaving his apartment to buy heroin, but he never returned. So what I was going to say is that it was so sad for Bon Scott to pass away from an early age at just 33 years old, you know? Like, it's like really sad for someone to do something like that. Anyways, guys, let's move on. Number 7, Brian Jones. So as you may know about Brian Jones was actually the guitarist of the Rolling Stones. But on July 3rd, 1969, Brian Jones was actually found dead in a swimming pool in England by his Swedish girlfriend. Eventually, they tried to revive Brian. Unfortunately, Brian Jones was pronounced dead on the scene at just 27 years old. Now, what I was going to say is Brian Jones was also addicted to alcohol and drugs, just like Keith Moon. So eventually, what I was going to say is that Brian Jones did get himself arrested. He did get himself into lots of trouble when it comes to drug and self-destruction, you know, like that. Like, why, you know? So what I was going to say about Brian Jones. So Brian Jones was actually the English musician, but you can also say Louis Hopkins Brian Jones or Elmo Lewis. I'm not talking about the Muppet Elmo, okay? I am talking about Brian Jones. Alright? So what I was going to say is that Brian Jones did clarify that he apparently just drowned into the swimming pool. He had a pulse, but he was dead on revival at the hospital. This was actually clarified to say it was a death by misadventure. His liver and heart was actually enlarged by overdose, like the drug and alcohol abuse. Alright? So what I was gonna say is that it's really sad for Brian Jones to die at just 27 years old. If you guys don't know what is the 27 Club, the 27 Club was actually people who died at just 27 years old. Between then, there were actually singers that died between 1969 and 1971, you know. But anyways, guys, let's not go a little too hard on myself. But number 7 is Selena. Now, what I was gonna say is that I'm not talking about Selena Gomez, okay? Sorry, Selena, but you're not featured in this video, okay? Sorry, Selena Gomez. I'm only gonna talk about Selena, alright? So, Selena was actually the American singer. She was also referred to the Queen of Original Music. So eventually, on March 31st, 1995, Selena was shot to death by one of her fans, which was also Yolanda Salvador. So eventually, the Qualitina family also appointed Yolanda Salvador. So eventually, what I was gonna say is that just before Selena's death, Salvador actually pulled out a gun, shooting her to death. So eventually, what I was gonna say is that Selena apparently was wounded. So eventually, she attempted to flee, but Salvatore actually shot her on the shoulder with a severe loss of blood loss, you know. So eventually, Selena collapsed on the floor, tragically. So eventually, what I was gonna say is that Salvador did just call her the B word. It was actually like mean, you know. It was so mean. I can't believe Yolanda would do something to Selena like this. It is considered murder, you know. Like, if people, they just murder people. It's not good, you know. Now, what I was gonna say is, I'm not gonna go into like a lot of details of Selena, but okay. By the time the doctors apparently saw Selena bleeding, eventually what I was gonna say is that doctors were actually able to establish her erratic heartbeat. After 15 minutes of surgery, Selena was pronounced dead of blood loss and cardiac arrest at around 1:05 p.m. She was only 23 years old, and apparently she's not only the youngest person to die. It was also Richie Valens, who died at just 17 years old. You know that? You know what I just do think of this? Now, I'm not really going to say a lot of these things, but definitely, guys, you guys really got confused between Selena and Selena Gomez. But apparently what I was going to say is that there's actually some movies of Selena, you know, like there's actually like the documentary of Selena where she was shot. Like that was so sad, you know. Now, I don't want to really jump into conclusions, guys, but let's go to number 6, okay? Number 6, John and Twistle. Now, there was another Who member who actually died in 2002, John and Twistle. As you may know about this, John and Twistle was the basis of the English rock band The Who. So eventually, just before he died, John and Twistle was actually sleeping with a groupie named Alison Rose. But unfortunately for them, John and Twistle died of a heart attack. And apparently, Alison Rose tried to wake John, but it failed. John was pronounced dead on the scene at just 57 years old. He was found dead in a Las Vegas hotel room. The bandmates apparently did try to see like him getting revived, but unfortunately what I was gonna say is that yes, John and Twistle did die at just 57 years old, and he was actually the second member of The Who to die, first being Keith Moon back in 1978, where he died of a drug overdose at just 32 years old. Now, I don't want to jump into like lots and lots of conclusions telling the whole story about how John and Twistle died, but okay guys, I get it already, alright? Now I just don't want to like pick and copy every single time, but I just wanted to do something about it, you know? Alright? Okay, so after we got this one, we also got number 5, Freddie Mercury. Freddie Mercury was the lead singer of the British rock band The Queen. So eventually, what I was going to say about Freddie Mercury was actually only 45 years old when he just died from complications due to AIDS. So eventually, he and Eric Carr both died on the same day as Freddie did, you know. So eventually, what I was going to say is that the cause of death was actually bronchopneumonia, which is actually resulting from AIDS. So eventually, what I was going to say is that he and Carr did die on the same day, you know. So eventually, Freddie Mercury was only 45 years old when he died of AIDS, like complications of AIDS. Now this is like the really scary joke. I don't want to tell you guys about this, but this keeps on happening to a lot of people, and I don't want anyone to like suffer through this, okay? But let's not take this one a little too far, alright? Number 4, John Lennon. So eventually, another British singer from the former band The Beatles, John Lennon, was actually shot to death on the 8th of December 1980. So eventually what I was going to say is that John Lennon was shot at just around 5 o'clock p.m. Unfortunately for that, Chapman shot Lennon twice, and Lennon was rushed to the hospital. But unfortunately for that, John Lennon was pronounced dead on arrival at 40 years old from a gunshot wound. So what I was gonna say is that it's really, really sad to see John Lennon dying. You know, John Lennon was actually like the greatest singer from the Beatles. You know. But anyways, guys, not going into too much of conclusion or details, but okay, guys, I'm not going to go through all the singers at once, like 120 singers, because it may take too long, and sometimes you know how much I cannot do these videos a lot. You know how much I want to finish this video before that, okay? But anyways, guys, let's just keep going, okay? Alright, number 3 is Phil Lynott. Phil Lynott was actually the singer of Thin Lizzy, but unfortunately his life didn't take too long. Phil was actually found dead at just 36 years old from an alcohol abuse. So Lynott was actually suffering from drug-related problems, which includes his addiction to drugs. Now what I was going to say is it's actually similar to Keith Moon. You know, Keith Moon and I forgot who's the guy, so sorry about this. Keith Moon and Bon Scott, alright? Now Bon Scott really didn't take like too much of alcohol, but definitely what I was gonna say is that Keith like did take the alcohol and just drunk himself to the ground. So eventually on the 4th of January 1986, Phil died of a pneumonia and heart failure due to septic car at just 36 years old. It was like really dangerous to see how the person suffers through alcohol abuse, you know, like that. So eventually what I was gonna say is that on the 4th of January he did die at just 36 years old. But that was actually before the day Junto Furuta was actually murdered. If you want to see the Junto Furuta story on my YouTube channel, you guys can. It's a bit scary, it's a little bit traumatizing, but I'm not gonna go into a lot of detail, okay? Alright guys, moving on to number 2, Eric Carr from Kiss. So Eric Carr was actually the drummer from Kiss. He was also known as Paul Charles Carrero. He was also selected to be the new drummer. When Peter Criss actually departed, he was chosen the name as the Fox, and he remained a member of the Kiss until his death from heart cancer on November 24th, 1991, at just 41 years old. Now, what I was going to say is that during that time, Carr actually began to feel ill in February. But eventually, what I was going to say is that Carr apparently had lots of complications, including heart disease, you know. So eventually, after all these kinds of chemotherapy and surgeries, Carr apparently got himself healthy. But due to his poor health, Carr apparently asked Stanley and Simmons to follow and allow him to have this video right here, you know. So eventually, by that time, on July 1991, Carr apparently lost a lot of hair due to his treatment. So eventually, what I was going to say is that Carr's last appearance was on the MTV musical Voice on September of 1991. But he suffered an aneurysm and never gained consciousness again. Unfortunately, it was really sad. Carr apparently died at just 41 years old, the same day as Freddie Mercury. Now, what I was going to say is that it's really, really sad to see the musician just died from a band, you know? It's like really sad. But eventually, I don't want to take this one a little too far, okay? Now we got number 1 was actually Jeff Porcaro from Toto. Jeff Porcaro was actually the drummer from the American band Toto. Now, not to be confused with Toto, but Toto is actually an American band. It is another American band which was actually famous in the 70s. Not Toto the dog, okay? It's called Toto, as in the band, alright? So what I was gonna say is that Jeff Porcaro was actually the drummer for the rock band Toto. Unfortunately for that, Jeff died at just 38 years old. So eventually what I was gonna say is that Jeff apparently died at just 38 years old. He was falling ill when he was spraying insecticide of the yard of his home. The coroner was actually ruled as an accident, and it was determined as a heart attack due to arterial disease caused by atherosclerosis due to cocaine use. So eventually, Porcaro has been suffering from a long-standing heart condition and a smoking habit which contributed to his death. So what I was gonna say is that it's really, really sad for one of the Toto drummers to die at just a very, very young age, you know. It was really, really sad. So eventually what I was gonna say is that Jeff was actually the former drummer for Toto. But after Jeff died in 1992, eventually what I was gonna say is that there's someone who apparently replaced Jeff Porcaro after his death, you know. So eventually the drummer was actually Simon Phillips, who was apparently the drummer after Jeff died from this disease, you know. So eventually what I was gonna say is that it's really, really sad for one of the Porcaro brothers to die. So eventually Jeff was the first one to die. The second was Mike Porcaro, who died in 2015 from atherosclerotic atherosclerosis. So eventually, the only survivor of the Porcaro band was actually Steve Porcaro. He was still alive by then. So eventually, what I was gonna say, it's really sad for Steve to lose 2 of his brothers. You know, they were actually in the band for Toto. You know. So eventually, Steve is still in the band, but eventually, what I was gonna say is that Steve just left the band and he rejoined again. So there's not much I can really say for now. Eventually, there's not much I can say for now. I think it was actually like my best shot to say something, you know what I mean? Like I'm not too sure what's actually happening, but definitely I don't want to add like so many singers, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 until 120, because this video will be too long. And you know what I even mean? Sometimes my videos will take very, very long. They will just take more than 10 minutes to upload, you know. How much I'm even speaking, how much I know the singers, how much my dad knows the singers, you know, when my dad was really, really young, he knows the Who, Kiss, Queen, I think Selena, yeah, Leonardo, Scala, and the Beatles. So eventually there's not much I can really say, but definitely it was really, really sad for their favorite band members to die at just a very young age. As you know what I even mean? It's really, really sad. But anyways, guys, I don't want to jump into lots and lots of conclusions right now. Okay? But anyways, guys, I think this is me signing off, and that will be all for now. Okay?